Boy, oh boy. Khamzat Chimaev just delivered a championship level performance on Saturday night, UFC 273 versus Gilbert Burns. That, my friends, was a championship level performance. And I know what a lot of people are going to say. People are going to say, hey, look, Moose, you're exaggerating. Moose, how is that a championship level performance? He got exposed. He didn't look as good as we thought, etc., etc., etc. And a lot of people are going to say, hey, I'm being biased because I'm on the Khamzat hype train. I believe he's going to be champion this year or by next year. A lot of people are going to say stuff like this. And I can understand why it might look like that to someone. But here's the main thing, okay? A lot of this depends on, and I'm about to come out with a really hot take right now. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to give a really, really spicy take. A lot of this depends on how you were going into the fight, how you were framing the fight was going to be. If you were someone who thought, hey, look, I believe that Khamzat Chimaev is going to run through Gilbert and beat him in 1 minute. Yeah, in the first round. Like, yeah, if you thought that was going to happen, I'm sure that this was disappointing to you. But if you're someone like myself who believed this was going to be his hardest fight, was not the case. He over-delivered or just delivered just where I thought he should be. Now, spicy take, okay? Ready for the spicy take? This fight against Gilbert Burns, Khamzat versus Gilbert, what Khamzat did in this fight was just as impressive, and I would say it's more impressive, but it wasn't 5 rounds, this fight. It's just as impressive as what Israel Adesanya did against Kelvin Gastelum when he won the interim middleweight title. This was just as impressive. There was no title on the line, okay? Right? There's no title on the line. However, this was just as impressive. Absolutely. Now, the only reason I would want to say this is more in some ways, but the only reason I can't say that just out of good, being a good faith is because, look, that was 5 rounds. The Izzy versus Gastelum fight, this was 3 rounds. So just out of good faith and, common sense, I can't say that this is more. If this was 5 rounds and needed this, 100,000,000%, this is more impressive. Now, the reason for that is because, look, where Gilbert Burns is right now, he's a higher quality opponent than where Kelvin Gastelum was when Izzy fought him. Kelvin Gastelum showed his best performance in his middleweight career, some can argue, against Israel Adesanya that time he fought him. Okay, that's one of his best performances. That being said, I still think that Gilbert is a higher quality person right now than where Kelvin was at that time in his career. Is that too crazy to say? I don't think that's crazy to say. In my opinion, that's 100% true. So, in my opinion, this was just as impressive as when Izzy fought Gastelum, and it would be more impressive if this was a 5-round fight, but it's not. So we have to kind of go with this, right? Now, the other thing I want to say is, look, as you can see here is one of my old videos. As you see, this is me in 360p or something being recorded on a potato. I don't know. Why does my YouTube setting default like this? Oh, no, it's 720. I just didn't render it. Anyways, as you see, this is my channel. 900 powerful views, of course. And as you can see, I said right here very clearly, Khamzat Chimaev's, let me zoom in on this. Is it zoomed in? Let's zoom in on this so people could see. Khamzat Chimaev's hardest test is coming. And that is what the title was, and that's what the title has been. I did not change the title. I did not do anything, okay? Just to get that clear. Why did I say that? Gilbert Burns, coming into this fight, was a former title challenger. He's fought Usman for the title. He dropped Kamaru, one of the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. Well, I mean, you could say he hit him, and then Kamaru kind of like hit his... He didn't drop him in the sense like he flattened him, because Kamaru did touch the ground with his hands, but he did hurt Kamaru. That is for sure, right? And if you want to argue he dropped him, whatever, you can argue that. But my point is this. He hurt the #1 pound-for-pound guy in the world with his striking. He has good BJJ. His striking has improved. He has power in his hands. He's went the distance. He's experienced. He's fought top-level guys. This was clearly going to be Khamzat's hardest fight. That was always very, very clear to me. Now, if you were someone who thought maybe this wasn't going to be Khamzat's hardest fight, or if you thought like, hey, he's just going to run through him like he did every other fight, yeah, I understand, again, why you would be disappointed in this. But guys, you have to think about it like this, okay? This is the reason why it's impressive. There are times in people's careers when they, Let's take Stipe and Darren Till, for example, okay? While this plays in the background. Stipe and Darren Till, right? When they fought, Stipe and Darren Till, that is, when Francis first... Sorry, why am I saying Stipe? I meant Francis and Darren Till. When Francis first fought Stipe, had a brain fart again, he stepped up in competition and he went for the title, and what happened? He got adversity for the first time and he just collapsed. He couldn't do it and he lost, right? He still won ultimately, but he lost. What happened when Darren first stepped up for the title? He got there, he tried, just got blown, ran right through, and the hype train kind of derailed after that, right? Darren Till, that is. That happens sometimes where we have these guys who are like in hype trains and they don't pass the test when adversity comes. Now, I recognize those two examples I gave were for the title and this one wasn't, but I think the point I'm trying to illustrate is that this is a clear example of someone who had to step up in competition drastically, number 11 versus number 2. He stepped up, and what happened? He faced a number 2 guy who has the list of stuff I gave, and he had to fight through adversity. He got hurt. He got stunned. He was bleeding. He got a bit tired. He took Gilbert down here. Gilbert rolled, and then he let him get back up because he probably didn't want to roll around with Gilbert. He diverted away from his game plan. Remember, his coach said, I saw the interview where his coach, I think, said on the Instagram post where he wanted Khamzat to do jabs and slow down and not brawl with him. But he wasn't. He just got into it. Now, again, this is something he has to work on, and it's better that this happened now rather than later. But just to get back to my point, this is a championship level performance because real fighters get tested. So I shouldn't say real fighters. Fighters who become champions get tested like this all the time. It's happened to John Jones. It's happened to Stipe. It's happened to Conor. It's happened to Kamaru in the Colby fight. It happened to Izzy in the Kelvin fight. Just list any champion. Happened to DC versus Gustafsson 2 versus John, whoever. They always get tested, right? Now, some people are super, super dominant, don't get tested as much, but most of the time, this is what happens. He got tested here, and he passed. He passed. Now, I know some people think that Gilbert won, and if you're someone who thinks Gilbert won, I'm not going to hold it against you too much, because to me, Khamzat won. I gave him round 1, round 3. But if you're someone who gave Khamzat or Gilbert round number 3, I'm not going to be too mad. We can discuss, we could debate about it. But for me, I had Khamzat winning. And this is where he dropped Gilbert in the first. And remember, again, people forgetting about this too. He dropped Gilbert here and exploded with energy and still fought 2 more rounds after this. Hard rounds without much slowing down. So what is my point? The point I'm trying to make is that champions can do this, where they can push through at a high level like this, right? His striking, to me, was better than I had anticipated. I thought Khamzat's striking was always going to be okay, but to stand and trade with Gilbert, your striking has to be good. It has to be solid. I'm not saying Gilbert's the best striker in the world, but his striking has improved, and what he's done now is that his striking has improved and he has power. And he did hurt Khamzat a couple times here. And one of the things that Khamzat was doing, if you notice, was he was getting countered a lot, especially with the looping punches. He was getting caught quite a bit, I was noticing. That's something he'll probably need to work on because Kamaru does do quite a bit of looping punches as well. So that's something he'll need to work on. Every champion goes through this, or every potential champion goes through this where they have a test, and he's passed. That's why this is an A performance for me, an A grade performance. Because to do this against Gilbert, 11 fights in, dude, this was extremely impressive. Extremely impressive to me. And this solidified to me that he will become champion. This all but solidified because now, not only does he know he has the guts to go through hard rounds, we know that, he knows that, that boosts his confidence. And also, he can make adjustments now because he knows, look, when I'm fighting these top guys, like Colby or Kamaru, whichever ones come next, I have to fight a little bit differently. I can't just run through them like I want to. Maybe he'll make adjustments and still dominate them, but he can't do it exactly like he wanted to. Now, again, just to go back to this video, Khamzat's hardest test is coming. One of the other things that I did mention, like I said, I wanted Khamzat to fight someone outside the top 5 first. I had said that. And what was the reason I said that? I said, look, very, very simple. Fighters in their first fight are different than fighters 5 fights in, 6 fights in, 7 fights in. Conor McGregor, when he fought Marcus Brimage, is different than the Conor McGregor who fought Eddie Alvarez or the Conor McGregor who fought Jose Aldo. The Francis that fought Stipe the second time is different than the Francis who fought in his UFC debut. Right? The Izzy who fought in his UFC debut is different than the one who won the title from Rob Whittaker. Very different. I can just go on and on, but everybody understands what I'm trying to say. When you first fight in the UFC, you're not going to be as good as long as you keep winning and training. You're not going to be as good as you are later on because you're just getting more training camps, more experience, etc., etc. That's just how life is. I had said Neil Magny would have been a nice next fight for him, but if he wants to go separate with Gilbert, again, he ultimately won and he showed why he is top level. But again, the reason I had said since the beginning he should have fought someone outside is because you build up slowly. Now, he took the gamble. He fought Gilbert. It was close. Again, if you want to argue that Gilbert won round 3, go ahead. But I think he won. And he got a good humbling lesson. At least he got it here. But it could have went the other way where he could have lost that and hits the hype a little bit. I don't think his stock would have dropped too much, but it's better for him to go against Kamaru or someone like Colby undefeated versus having a loss because of how we're trying to hype him up. So that was close. It was a gamble. That's what I was saying. It's better to have as many training camps as you can beforehand. But again, he jumped it and he did it. Great. Another thing I wanted to talk about on my little notepad here is would Khamzat have beaten Kamaru if he had fought Kamaru on Saturday? No, I don't think he would have beat Kamaru, okay? As much as I like Khamzat, as much as I like him, if he had gotten into some sort of a slugfest with Kamaru like this, Kamaru's striking is not that, like, amazing, right? It's not. Like, I'm not saying Kamaru's a very technical striker. He has power. He's getting a little bit better. But watch Kamaru striking, like, in the second Colby fight or any of his fights, it's kind of sloppy. He doesn't really set up his shots that good. His combinations aren't that good. He wings his punches a lot. However, he's very disciplined. He has really good takedown defense. He has 5-round conditioning at a high pace. If he had stood and trade for 5 rounds of Khamzat, I don't think Khamzat would have came out the winner. I think he would have hurt Kamaru and stuff for sure. But would he have beaten him? I don't think so. However, do I think he's gonna beat Kamaru eventually? Yes, I do. 100%, no doubt in my mind. Eventually, he'll be Kamaru. Look, Kamaru's just getting older. He's just gonna only get older, and Khamzat's only gonna get better. Right? Every training camp is gonna get better, and even if he loses to Kamaru once, can he get him again after that? Yep, because he's only gonna get better. And again, what he showed me here, his striking, his heart, his chin, determination, the most important things. Some of the most important things if you want to become champion, because everybody's going to go through it, and he passed. He absolutely passed. Again, I don't think he would have beat Kamaru, and even Colby would have been difficult because Colby would have been a 5-round fight too, right? They're not booking Colby they're not going to book Colby in a 3-round fight like this in a pay-per-view. No, that's going to be a main event, which might be coming next. And again, speaking of which, am I still recording? Yes. Speaking of which, looks like the Colby fight's going to be next, right? Looks like it's going to be next. So he's going to be number 2 after this. Colby's number 1. Leon's fighting Kamaru. Vicente Luque, Belal Muhammad are fighting. So there's only 2 choices really here. By the way, look at this punch he took. Jeez. There's really only 2 fights for him right now, okay? Either he's going to fight Colby next, I think they were saying on ABC like Dana was saying, or he could fight the winner of Muhammad and Luque, who are fighting this weekend, I believe. So those are 2 solid fights he can do next, right? I mean, either of them, it's, whoever wins this, very close to title shot, or right there. Colby is always up there, so he's number 1 right now. We don't need to see him against anybody beneath this anymore, I guess. Just when it makes sense now. Unless they just had like a last minute thing they wanted to throw him. But either the winner of Luque Muhammad or Colby. Very, very, very simple. It's either one of those 2. Which one would I prefer to see? I still would have preferred to see him fight Colby as a title fight. What I mean is if he could have fought Kamaru and beat him and then fight Colby, because that would have created a fresh title matchup. I would have preferred to see that, in my opinion. However, between these two, honestly, I am very neutral on either of these. Because both of these guys, remember, when either the winner of this fight is pretty much ready for a title shot. Colby's always ready to go in, but he's lost to Kamaru twice. And now it's just up to Khamzat. Who does he want to fight? I'm 50. I'm okay with either. I have no problem. Obviously, the Colby fight's a bigger marquee fight. The trash talk leading up to it. It's a really tough challenge. But again, for me, I could go with either or. I got no problem with either or fights. Both of them are great fights. And also, it depends. Will Colby want to take the fight? That's another question you have to ask, because for Colby, he's probably thinking, like, what do I get if I beat Khamzat? Now, he might be able to make some decent money, sell a little bit, whatever. But will he get another title shot? That's tough to say, right? Will the UFC promise him one after he's lost to Kamaru twice? I don't know. That's why Colby probably wants to chase people like Dustin Poirier and Jorge. It's just money fights, which are easier, right? It's just easier. Like, fighting Dustin is way easier than fighting Khamzat. Now, Vicente or Muhammad will for sure take the Khamzat fight if they have to. They'll take it because it's a big fight for them, either of them. But for Colby, he's a pretty decent name. I don't know if he wants to do it. We'll have to see. But those are my thoughts. Again, A-level performance. I'm very happy with it. I'm very satisfied. Crazy fight. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like it if you like it, and subscribe for more content similar to this. I'm out. Peace.